Thank you very much, Kaylee. We're bringing in Alan Adler, and we were going to talk about Mack Trucks and UAW and Volvo, but instead we're going to pivot just a little bit here because of news coming out of Nikola at this point in time. Alan joins us now, and looks like they've found a solution for perhaps the battery problem that has a tendency, at least in the past, to catch on fire. They recalled a lot of trucks. Alan, what's the latest on this?
Well, it's probably the worst case scenario for Nikola. They're going to replace all of the battery packs that are involved in these trucks. Battery packs don't have an exact cost, but they're among the more expensive components in an electric truck. I think Nikola hoped when they announced the recall in August that they would be able to do a fix within the battery pack, perhaps, and maybe even do that fix in the field. Now they're bringing all the trucks back to Coolidge, Arizona, where their plant is. They're going to do all the fixes there. However, there's a lot of unknowns. They don't know when they'll get battery pack replacements. They're saying it'll take 60 days once they have them, but the real open issue there is when and where are you going to get battery packs? The other issue for Nikola, and this is unusual in the recall space, Bill, is that they're going to bear the full cost of this recall. Typically, when you have a supplier involved, they share in the cost, or sometimes they feel the brunt of the cost of the recall, depending on how that negotiation works out. In this case, Nikola owned Romeo Power, which was the supplier of the batteries. They had purchased them about a year before the recall, and essentially, because there's no one else to foist this off on, they have to pay for it themselves. How much that'll cost is sort of unknown at this point. Nikola wasn't taking questions yesterday when I reached out. They said, stay tuned to our third quarter earnings on November 2nd, and we'll get into it.
So, Ellen, obviously that question was one that I had asked you about 4 weeks ago or so when this news came out of who bears the brunt of that. And at that time, the question was, we don't really know. It could be whoever they pass it on to. It could be, Nikola themselves. Obviously, we know that this is going to be very, very costly, as you mentioned, to them. Any idea of kind of a timeline on how long it could take? You mentioned that it's, the matter of getting the trucks back to the plant and then getting them out to the people. Those folks who have purchased trucks who are closer to their home base towards Coolidge will obviously get them in and replaced faster. But did they give any indication on how quick of a fix this could be?
Well, they're saying it's going to take 60 days from the time they get batteries. And I think the open question is where and when will they get them? Because you're not going to use Romeo. Proterra, which provides batteries for the fuel cell electric trucks, is in bankruptcy itself. It is producing batteries. So we'll have another story on Proterra later today. But it's continuing to produce, but there's no idea if they would take over the replacements. The battery electric trucks need 9 battery packs. Fuel cell trucks only take 2, different design. So maybe not a good solution. I'm not real sure where Nikola is going to get those battery packs. Maybe they'll tell us in early November. I did have an opportunity this week when I was in Austin to talk with Salim Yusufeda from Watt EV, and he told me that, he did send his trucks back to Nikola, had them picked up and taken back to Arizona from California. He said, we don't know when we're going to get them back. He said, they're really not telling us. And I think that's consistent with what they said in their customer letter. He said he has the same issue with Volvo, which recalled its electric trucks for battery fire potential and hasn't received the 80-some truck he's supposed to get from them. So he's turned around and gone to Freightliner and gotten so far 5 electric trucks for his business from them. So this is causing a problem downstream as well as, the people that purchased the electric trucks from Nikola obviously wanted to put them to use. Right now, they have nothing in the place for them, So I don't know if that means, that you see settlements in terms of, kind of loss of use or anything like that. That's probably pretty far down the line here. But at this point, this is probably the worst outcome you could expect for this particular recall.
So, Alan, as you look at the situation, when you brought this to me, as is what you wanted to talk about this morning, one of the aspects of it was the fact that Nikola's stock was dropping at this particular point in time. As you look at it now, is this are these events essentially something that they can recover from? Is this a shock to the system, or is this perhaps even a body blow that they're going to have to take, they're going to have to survive in order to stay afloat?
Well, they've been trending lower, Bill, for really since the 11th of October. So what's that, about 7 trading days, including this morning. And they're back down close to $1 a share, yeah, $1.03 or something like that this morning pre-market. They were at $1.41 back on the 11th of the month. The issue for the stock, I think, is twofold. One, there's obviously some concerns about the cost of this recall. The other, though, is the ongoing dilution of the stock because of issuing new shares. Remember back in August, Nikola got an authorization, took a little bit of work, but they, in the help of the Delaware state government, they were able to double the number of their authorized shares to 1.6 billion. That's a B. And they have been already working pretty quickly to get those shares into the market. According to one of the posters on Seeking Alpha, they're up to about 935 million outstanding shares now, and that could go higher. What that does is to those who hold Nikola shares is it dilutes what the value of what they have. And again, you're talking, what, a dollar a share thereabouts. Not just a couple of months ago, this stock was about 350, and it looked like it was on its way back up. That was before the vote on the authorization to increase the number of shares. So I think this is just a fraught issue with Nikola. I don't know, can they dig their way out? They seem to keep doing that, don't they? They just seem to land on their feet every time. I don't know that I would go as far as saying this is a body blow, but this will be expensive.
So obviously, Alan, the shareholders have now taken issue with Nikola, as we see in that drop of the price. You have the folks, their customers have taken issue because their product is not working. Is there a saving grace that can kind of redeem Nikola in the eyes of the industry and in the eyes of the public? Of course, you've had that trifecta, right? The stock is bad, the leadership is a mess, and we know that because we've had now the CEO turnover, and now the product doesn't work. That's kind of that trifecta of terrible things that will tear down a company. Does the court of public opinion still have anything to hold on to for them, or is it just going to kind of be a wait and see how they fix this issue?
Ken, if I could answer that, I'd probably be in another line of work. I don't even know how to answer that question. I think that Nikola is doing the best it can to keep a positive outlook. At the ATA this week, they had the fuel cell truck there for rides literally around the block, and they had some attention. There were a few people that were obviously taking those rides and that kind of thing. I think they're trying to go day to day and just stay in the game as best they can. You have had lots of turnover, obviously, in the leadership at Nikola. You've had some decisions I kind of lay out in the story that just posted on Nikola, sort of all the headaches that the Romeo Power acquisition has caused them. I mean, it's enormous, and I think we probably missed one or two, but we've written about just about all of them. And those assets, they liquidated Romeo back in July, and who comes in and buys it but Mullen Automotive, another sort of questionable business, for $3.5 million. Nikola paid $144 million in stock to buy Romeo, and now it's just gonna, talk about a horrible set of circumstances.
So, Alan, we've got about a minute left here. As you look at the situation, you have basically a cautionary tale as far as other battery electric trucks can look at this and say, well, obviously we don't want to make this kind of mistake. But is there a ripple effect going out as to into the industry as to how other people will look at this and how they may react to it if they perhaps see similar issues in their own operation?
Well, I think we have to be clear that, problems do occur in mechanical devices, whether they're battery electric trucks or whether they're diesel power trucks. You do get recalls. They're going to happen. I don't think this sets back the industry in any particular way, Bill. I think what it does is it basically inconveniences those who were early adopters. And I think that, as we move along, you'll see, obviously, more attention possibly. I mean, nobody intentionally builds a battery with a flaw. But the fact is that this is a setback for those who, as I said, bought early. This is not going to stop the momentum for electric trucks because the regulators have assured us of that. You saw this week that the California Trucking Association sued California, sued the state, or CARB anyway, over the advanced clean truck rule, and basically said, you just can't make us buy these things. Well, yeah, they can, and yeah, they are. So I don't think that's going to slow this down. I think these are just these are setbacks along the way. I think for Nikola, though, it's just one example of where a business decision. Should they have let Romeo go bankrupt and taken the hit in terms of early production? In hindsight, yes, they should have, but they didn't, and they, came in and did the big rescue and of the company, and it's not worked out.
Now they are quite literally going to pay for that decision. Alan, thank you for joining us this morning. Of course, we're going to keep a close eye on this. And as you mentioned, Nikola's earnings report comes out November 2nd, right?
That's correct. Yep, we'll be watching.
All right, we'll hear from you then. Right now, we're going to go ahead and take a quick break. We'll be back with more Freight Waves Now right after this.